Hello, Tom. This is Tom Long, your host. Um, sorry, it's 9 p.m. and I'm in my t-shirt, white t-shirt. So hopefully, you're okay with that. So today is the 29th. I actually was supposed to do this last night, but I didn't get a chance to do it. So I'm doing it right now. So today is Monday, April 29th, 2024. And let's talk about the Old Testament. It is brought to you by this book, The Complete Guide to the Bible. Okay, it's pretty reasonably priced, um, 19.99. So there's more than 700,000 copies sold by Stephen M. Miller. Stephen N. Miller, an illustrated, easy to follow reference covering both the Old and New Testaments. Let's see. There's an introduction, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and art resources. Okay, let's see. What's this? Paul's Bible. There's a picture of Paul, credited with writing nearly half the books in the New Testament. Apostle Paul had this to say about the only Bible he used, the Old Testament. All Scripture is inspired by God and is useful to teach us what is true and to make us realize what is wrong in our lives. That quote is from 2 Timothy 3:16. I'm doing the live right now. That's uh, that's on YouTube. If anyone's following along, um, so I'm just going to read this. Some Christians hate this title almost as much as Jews do. They prefer First Testament. Old Testament suggests out of date. Yet many of the New Testament's favorite teaching come from the Old Testament, the first two-thirds of the book of the Bible. Take Jesus' commandment to love our neighbor as ourself. He quoted that from Levit- Leviticus. Leviticus. I always have a problem saying that. 19:18. That's chapter 9. That's chapter 19, verse 18. A law written in Moses' time. How we got the Old Testament. Many of the oldest and most memorable stories, like those about Moses and Abraham, were passed along by word of mouth from one generation to the next. At least that's what the Bible, at least that's what Bible experts guess. The Hebrews didn't develop an alphabet until later, when they settled in Israel after Moses led them out of Egypt. Before that, Jews would have written with other alphabets, such as those from Egypt and Phoenicia in modern day Lebanon. In King David's time, About 1,000 years before Jesus, Jewish writers and editors started compiling the stories. They did it to preserve a record of their people and the new nation they started. As the centuries rolled on, this cherished library grew, adding stories, gene- genealogy, laws, prophecy, poetry, and songs. Some books were lost and survive only as titles that Bible writers mention in passings, such as the record of Samuel the seer, the record of Nathan the prophet, and the record of Gad the seer. That's in 1 Chronicles 29:29. In time, Jews began to cherish certain books, treating them as sacred. First, the laws and stories of Moses in the first five books of the Bible. The first five books, I'm just adding something extra, is called the Torah, and it's written by Moses. Then the books of the prophets, and finally the rest of the books in Old Testament, a diverse assortment of writings such as Psalms, Proverbs, and Job. It's unclear when the Jews settled on the 39 books we now have, but many guess that Jewish leaders finalized their Bible shortly after Romans destroyed the last Jewish temple in AD 70. That's when Jewish faith started to spin around sacred words instead of a sacred place, since the Jerusalem temple was gone. So yeah, that's a good amount of information about the Old Testament, and there's 39 books. Um, some books were lost and survive only as titles that Bible writers mention in passing, such as the record of Samuel the seer, record of of Nathan the prophet, things like that. So it also says Jewish leaders finalized the Bible after Romans destroyed the last Jewish temple in AD 70. Why would the Romans destroy uh, the Jewish temples? I don't know. That's something I gotta look at. In AD 70, that's 70 years after the birth of Christ. So that's when Jewish faith started to spin around sacred words instead of a sacred place, which is the birth of Christ. Actually, no. Um, Instead of sacred place, since Jerusalem's temple was gone. So Jewish temple, yeah. Moses was way before 0 AD. Why would the Romans destroy the Jewish temple? That's a good question. Anyways, that's a good introduction to the Old Testament. It's two-thirds of the Bible. Let me see the New Testament 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20, 27 books in the New Testament. 27 verses 39. So that's 12 more books in the Old Testament. Yeah, so those of you that's following along, yeah, I'm on the live right now on YouTube. I was supposed to do it yesterday, and I didn't feel so good, so I'm doing it today. Yeah, this book is full of information, in the Bible. Every single page is a good reading. Each book is about maybe 10 pages long. Ten Commandments in Exodus. The what do you call it? The plagues. The plagues that Moses had to go through. Leviticus. That's the next book after Exodus. After Leviticus is Numbers. And Deuteronomy. 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 And then Joshua after that. Joshua after that. And then Judges. And then you got Ruth. I'll just go through this whole book and name out the books. 1 Samuel. When it says 1 Samuel, that means there's going to be another 2 Samuel, which is the second book. So here's 2 Samuel. And then 1 Kings. And then 2 Kings. One Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. Ezra. I'm not sure if this is a book. Nehemiah. It is a book. Esther. Just a lot of history. Job. Why God lets bad things happen to good people. Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. You know what? I've never said that word before. It means I never read the book. Song of Songs. That's a book. I teach I teach this, but I haven't read everything yet. Isaiah, 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 Isaiah. I've only read part of the Bible. Jeremiah, Lamentations. That's a what book's name. Lamentations. So the Jews worship a wall. Okay. Ezekiel. Remember that video? Ezekiel. What's up, Ezekiel? My name's Ezekiel. What's up, Ezekiel? Daniel. Daniel. He walked in the tiger's den, lion's den. Hosea. Hosea. Joel. Amos. Obadiah. Jonah. Jonah got swallowed by a big fish. He stayed in there a couple of days, and the fish threw him up, and he was still alive. That's for the written scripture. Micah. I read another book. It's not as, it's not like this one. Nahum. And that other book talked about stories from the Bible. I don't know where the book is anymore, but I might have it in my storage. Habakkuk. Habakkuk. Zephaniah. Zephaniah. Haggai. You look at this picture in page 282. The Jews worship over here at this wall, and this temple over here belongs to the Muslims. That's it's that close to each other. Zechariah. Zechariah. Speech of an angel. Zechariah. Malachi. Malachi. The Apocrypha. The Apocrypha. Okay, that's the last book in the Old Testament. Here's the introduction to the New Testament. We got Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Not sure this is John the Baptist or John that wrote Revelation. I'll find out. Acts. Romans. One Corinthians. And then you got 2 Corinthians. Galatians. Galatians. Don't. I just heard something. We're talking about something personal. Ephesians. Ephesians. Philippians. Philippians. Colossians. A lot of these books I've never read before. The other book that I read was also like a cliff notes of Bible stories, and they were all stories. One Thessalonians. There are stories from the Bible, but I didn't know particularly from what book, and where the scriptures are. 2 Thessalonians. 1 Timothy. Two Timothy. Titus. Philemon. Philemon. Hebrews. James. That's in his book. One Peter. Two Peter. When God turns out the light, that's on page 485 in 2 Peter, Birth of the Universe. Big Bang, starting from the Big Bang. The Big Bang Theory can be contested too. 1 John. 2 John. 3 John. Jude. And then Revelation. So you got 1 John. Originally you got John. I'm not the same John. I'm sure it's the same John, but then 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and then Revelation. Okay, so that's the review of that book. Just a brief introduction. I'm glad I got on and got to go through the book. So I'm at 27 pages. 27 minutes. If anybody wants to chat, go ahead and chat. I am not seeing any chat, so it's kind of sad. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Next time, look out for the next live video. All right. Have a good night. This is Tom signing out.